There are moments in life when cruelty tries to take center stage, when someone's pain becomes another person's entertainment, when people forget that hearts are fragile and they play with them anyway. But sometimes, the most beautiful stories begin right where someone expected humiliation and instead found hope. This is one of those stories. A story about a joke gone wrong. A story about kindness choosing to stay. A story about a little girl with a heart big enough for the world. And a story about how a single moment, one tiny choice, can shape the rest of your life. Our story begins on a quiet Saturday afternoon, inside a warm little cafe in Riverbend, Oregon. Willow and Ember Coffee House sat near the riverbank, filled with the soft smell of cinnamon and roasted espresso beans. Wooden beams, hanging plants, amber light, the kind of place where people whispered instead of talked, where time slowed down enough that even broken hearts could breathe. At exactly 2 p.m., Evan Carter walked in. He paused at the door, adjusting the collar of the only good shirt he owned. 3 years. It had been 3 years since he'd gone on a date. 3 years since his life fell apart. 3 years since he'd learned to raise a little girl on his own. The barista gave him a kind smile as he made his way to a small table near the window. Evan set down his coffee, exhaled, and tapped his foot in a nervous rhythm that matched his racing pulse. He checked his phone. 2:03 p.m. He wondered if she would show. He wondered if this was a mistake. But mostly, he wondered what he would even say when she arrived. Across the cafe, behind a shelf of succulents and hanging pothos, 2 men sat pretending to read magazines that were far too old and far too crinkled to be believable. Brent Miller and Chase Nolan, the office troublemakers, the kind of men who found humor in things no kind person should. Phones hidden in their sleeves, eyes darting toward the door. Waiting, because they had set everything up. And they expected this to be hilarious. A struggling single dad, paired with the shy accountant they'd always whispered about behind her back. A blind date engineered for embarrassment. To them, this wasn't a chance at love. It was content. At 2:05, the cafe door opened and a small gust of cold wind followed a woman inside. Lila Rowan. Her blonde hair was tied back in a neat knot, though a few nervous strands framed her face. She wore a soft blue dress, simple but carefully chosen. The kind of dress someone tries on 5 times before finally walking out the door. Her eyes swept the cafe with a nervous kind of hope. When she spotted Evan waving, something flickered across her face. Relief, confusion, fear. She approached slowly, clutching her purse like a shield. "Hi, Evan, right?" she whispered. He stood immediately, pulling out her chair. "Yes, and thank you for meeting me." Up close, he could see her shaking hands, her uneven breath, the tension sitting heavy across her shoulders. She sat down. They exchanged the kind of polite smile shared by 2 people who want to belong somewhere but aren't sure they ever will. Then Lila said something that stopped him. "I was surprised you asked about me. We've never really talked before." Evan blinked. "Asked about you?" That was the moment he knew something was wrong. "Lila," he said gently, leaning forward, "I'm going to be honest with you. Brent and Chase set this up. They told me someone wanted to grab coffee. They didn't say who." Lila's eyes widened. She turned her head, slowly, painfully, towards the corner of the cafe. Brent and Chase froze, their phones angled just right, her face drained of color. "Oh," she breathed, a small word, a breaking word. "Oh, I see. This was a joke." Her eyes glistened with tears she tried desperately to hide. The humiliation was instant, sharp, and deeply familiar. She wasn't stupid. She'd seen looks before, heard whispers, and now it was happening again. Brent nudged Chase, grinning, but before they could get the angle they wanted, something in Evan snapped. A quiet, controlled anger. Not loud, not dramatic, but born from years of being judged, blamed, abandoned. He reached across the table just slightly. "Lila," he said softly, "look at me." She did, eyes trembling. "They're idiots, and I'm so sorry they dragged you into this, but nothing about you is a joke, and nothing about being here with you feels like one." He could see the words surprise her. "And if it helps," he added, voice quiet but steady, "I was terrified to come today. I haven't been on a date in 3 years." Lila blinked. "You were scared?" "Absolutely," Evan smiled faintly. "My first thought when I saw you come in was, she has kind eyes. My second thought was, she probably knows how to be patient with someone like me. And my third thought was," he shrugged awkwardly, "I really hope I didn't wear the wrong shirt." She laughed, a single, small, cracked laugh that held more healing than she realized. Behind them, Brent and Chase lowered their phones, suddenly uncomfortable under the weight of something they hadn't expected: human decency. The tension melted minute by minute as they began to talk. About work, about life, about puzzles and invoices and late nights. Lila's face lit up as she spoke about numbers, how predictable they were, how they always added up the way they should, unlike people. "I started loving math in high school," she admitted. "It was something that didn't judge me." Evan's eyes softened. "For what it's worth," he told her, "I think you're beautiful. But even if you weren't, beautiful hearts are the ones that matter." Her breath hitched at that, because she believed it for everyone except herself. Then she asked the question she had avoided since sitting down. "What about you? What's your life like?" And Evan took a breath, the kind you take before peeling back an old scar. "I'm a single dad," he said quietly. "My little girl Mia, she's 6, she's my whole world. And 3 years ago her mom left." Lila listened, not pitying, just understanding. "She walked out while I was at work, left a note on the counter. That was it. And for the first year, Mia kept asking when she'd come back." He swallowed hard. "I still don't know how to answer that." Lila reached out, hesitant, and gently placed her hand over his. "You didn't deserve that," she whispered. Evan smiled sadly. "Life doesn't always give us what we deserve. It gives us what we're meant to grow from." And for the first time in years, both of them felt seen. Not judged, not mocked, not a joke, just seen. Hours passed without either noticing. They talked about childhood dreams. Evan once wanted to be a carpenter. Lila once wanted to design clothes. They talked about fears. Evan feared Mia would someday ask questions he couldn't answer. Lila feared people only saw her flaws. They talked about simple joys: Mia's mispronunciations, Lila's castle cakes, the comfort of warm coffee on a cold day. The sun dipped lower, and golden light spilled through the windows, painting everything in soft amber. And somewhere between laughter and shared truths, they forgot anyone else was in the cafe. When Lila checked her phone, she startled. "It's almost 5, she whispered. "I didn't even notice." "Neither did I," Evan smiled. He hesitated, nerves curling through him. "Would you like to do this again? Maybe dinner next time?" Lila's smile was small but bright, blooming across her face like sunlight. I'd like that a lot." Behind them, the cafe was nearly empty, and Brent and Chase were long gone, their plan failing in every way possible. By Monday, everyone had heard what happened. Not from Evan, not from Lila, but from other customers sitting in the cafe that day. Videos circulated, not of embarrassment, but of Evan standing up for Lila. By noon, the manager called Brent and Chase into her office. 20 minutes later, they walked out pale and silent, reassigned to new departments and stripped of their smugness. Some cruelty backfires beautifully. 2 weeks later, Evan and Lila had dinner at a tiny Italian restaurant downtown. And this time, Mia came with them. She ran in wearing a purple tutu, rain boots, and infectious excitement. "Hi, Miss Lila. Daddy says you bake the best cakes. Can you make one with unicorn sparkles?" Lila laughed, a warm, honest laugh. "Absolutely, but only if you tell me what color the unicorn's mane should be." "All the colors," Mia said instantly. Evan watched them talk and felt something he hadn't let himself feel in years. Hope, not desperate hope, not fragile hope, but steady, grounding, real hope. Lila wasn't just good with Mia, she was perfect with her, and Mia loved her instantly. Winter came. Saturday pancake mornings, snowmen in the backyard, bird-watching in the park. Mia began asking, "Is Miss Lila coming today?" with the same excitement she once reserved only for ice cream. One evening, after Mia had gone to bed, Lila sat on the sofa with a cup of hot chocolate. "She asked me something today," Lila whispered. "What?" "She wanted to know if I'm staying, not just for today, but staying with the both of you." Evan's heart pounded. "And what did you say?" "I told her I hoped so, and that I care about her, and about you so much." She swallowed. "And I love you, Evan." He leaned forward, eyes soft. "I love you too." It was simple, and true, and enough. 1 year later, returning to the cafe the next spring, Evan and Lila walked back into Willow and Ember Cafe. The same table, the same drinks, the same cranberry scones. "So much could have gone wrong that day," Lila said softly. "But something went right," Evan replied. "The best thing that's happened to me, besides Mia." Lila laughed, wiping away a happy tear. "She told me something yesterday," she whispered. "She said, 'Miss Lila, you're not Daddy's girlfriend anymore. You're my bonus mommy.'" Evan felt his throat tighten. "She said that?" "Yes. And it's the greatest honor I've ever had." Silence filled the space, warm, thick, tender. Evan reached across the table, took her hand, and before he even realized what he was saying, "Will you marry me?" Lila froze. Then tears spilled. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes. Absolutely yes." They kissed across the table, both laughing through tears. Then Evan grabbed his phone. "We have to tell Mia." The phone call Mia answered on the second ring. "Daddy, did you eat good dinner?" Evan chuckled. "Better. We have news." Lila leaned closer. "Mia, your daddy asked me something really important." "Was it about cake?" Mia gasped. "Is he finally letting you make cake every day?" They burst out laughing. "Not cake, sweetheart," Evan said. "I asked Miss Lila to marry me." Silence. Then, "Does that mean she'll live with us forever?" "If that's okay with you," Lila whispered, tears streaming. "Okay? It's the best day of my life. Emma, come here! My bonus mommy is gonna be my real mommy too!" In the background, Mia and her little friend screamed with joy. Evan and Lila couldn't stop smiling. The wedding, 6 months later, under the soft golden glow of a May afternoon, Evan and Lila married in a small ceremony by the river. Mia, wearing sparkly sneakers under her white dress, took her role as flower girl extremely seriously, dropping petals one by one, counting quietly to make sure it was done perfect. When Lila walked down the aisle, Mia tugged Evan's sleeve. "Daddy, she looks like a princess." "She does," Evan whispered. "She absolutely does." They exchanged vows through tears. Lila promised to love Evan and Mia fiercely, to show up every day, to never stop choosing them. Evan promised to give Lila a home where she'd never feel small again, a place where love didn't depend on perfection, only presence. When the officiant pronounced them married, Mia cheered so loudly that several birds took flight from the nearby trees. Everyone laughed. Everyone cried. It was perfect. Later that evening, as fairy lights glowed over the water and soft music drifted from the restaurant behind them, the three of them stood by the river. Mia held both their hands. "Daddy," she whispered. "Yes, sweetheart." "Are you happy?" Evan looked at his wife, at his daughter, at the life he never imagined he'd have again. "Happier than I've ever been," he said. "Me too," Mia declared. "This is the best family ever." Lila knelt, pulling the little girl into her arms. "You know what makes it the best?" she asked. "What?" "We chose each other. All of us." Mia thought for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah, choosing is important, like choosing chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla. It's better, because you picked it." They laughed, a bright, warm sound carried by the breeze. And in that moment, under the golden lights and the quiet hum of celebration, their story came full circle. Because the most beautiful love stories don't always begin with fireworks or perfect timing. Sometimes they begin with a cruel joke and end with a family built on kindness, courage, and the simple act of choosing to stay.